how many inflammatory microplastics we are ingesting. When I was growing up, my mom, very well-intentioned, would store foods in plastic, leftovers. And we'd buy foods that came in plastic packages, right? We didn't have a second thought about it. A plastic cup, styrofoam cup. Go to a picnic, you're eating off of a plastic plate, right? I mean, these are all common experiences that we all have in the modern developed world. Well, what if I told you that we now realize that the plastic touching food can shed the plastic itself as microparticles into the food, and then we eat the food. And okay, we've known this for maybe more than a decade. Maybe there's little plastic particles that come off, but hey, there's no harm, right? We haven't been able to discover it. I used to say that. Now, just within the last few years, we're beginning to pinpoint that, number one, plastics can actually embed themselves in our body. We know where. We also know that these plastics are associated with inflammation. That is a big red flag. The klaxon alarm should start going off. And third is that the volume of plastics that we're consuming is crazy. There was a study that came out recently that showed that in normal autopsies of people that didn't die of a brain problem, that when they were doing the autopsies and looking for plastic, that we could find them. And the amount of plastic that was found in the average human brain is about the amount you'd find in a typical plastic picnic spoon, just distributed throughout the brain. This is like it's a person who's died of something else. Wow. Does that mean that, like you and I are actually, you got a plastic spoon worth of plastic in our brain? There's been some people that calculated, and this has been, the actual math has been challenged, but there was an estimate that, some people might consume as much as a credit card's worth of plastic every single week in their food if they're not careful about it. And let me just tell you where we're finding microplastics. And, I want to get to the point where we're talking about the healthy foods that can actually turn the ship around. How do we turn the battleship of unhealth back to health? So we're back on the course that everybody wants to go to. We want to go to that how do we find our North Star for health? So I do want to get to that, but let me just say something about microplastics. We've now found microplastics in the brain, as I mentioned to you. We found it in the bloodstream. A group in Italy actually looking at men who had narrowing of the carotid artery. That's the blood vessel feeding the brain comes from the heart right to the brain, the carotid artery.
Oh, through the neck.
Through the neck.
Yep.
They found that the narrowing that can occur in some men can accumulate plastic. They can actually find plastic particles. There's photographs of the chunks of plastic, the particles, fragments of plastic in there, and they followed them over a period of time. Those men who had plastic embedded in their blood vessel lining had a 4-fold increase in the chances of having a fatal heart attack or a stroke years later.
400%.
Fourfold, yeah. Okay. Now that's not kidding, right? So now we're beginning to take notice of this, but we're also finding microplastics in breast milk. We're finding microplastics in testicles. We're finding microplastics in human semen. How's it get there? And urologists who are doing surgery on the penis are finding that in the human flesh, when they look into the microscope, we never used to look for this. Now we're looking for it, that there's even microplastics in the flesh of the penis. Okay, so if anybody listening to this isn't taking notice about microplastics, now it's time to start thinking about this. So one of the questions is, and I'm not saying that the rise in rate of cancers that we're seeing is due to microplastics. What I am saying is that we're beginning to wake up to the fact.
So let's close off on microplastics. What are the easy wins in our lives, do you think, when you think about microplastics? Is it just removing anything plastic that I eat from? Or are there some sort of easy, cheap wins? Is it my shampoo? Is it my frying pan? Is it a container?
Yeah, so I always tell people that the easiest way to lower your exposure to microplastics is to throw out your plastic cups, your plastic plates, and your plastic silverware, okay? And get ceramic or glass. That's the best way to actually avoid those. And also when you're buying food, try to avoid food that comes clearly packaged in plastic, all right? Now, I do want to point out one thing, because right here on this table, we are looking at a tray full of beverages, and I can already identify the matcha, and this looks like a cup of coffee, and we've got English breakfast tea. I've done a lot of research on tea, all right? But I'm noticing something, that green tea, which is universally healthy, the polyphenols in green tea lower the risk of inflammation. They actually improve your metabolism, lower your risk of cancer. They're heart healthy. Before you take that sip, though, let me tell you, I see a tea bag in there. Okay, and there's different ways of brewing your tea. It turns out research from the University of Montreal have now shown that tea bags can shed microplastics. So you can have 1 billion particles of microplastic shed from a single tea bag.
Okay.
All right. So I just changed your mind, right? So look, this is the power of awareness and understanding. I probably should have stopped you.
Yeah.
But when you were like, why didn't you save my life?
You let me drink it first, but I've spat it out.
Well, I just, as you were doing it, I was like, all right. But look, there's another one there that's got lemon ginger tea. This is like an herbal tea. That's fine. Listen, I would also tell you with flavored teas, just be cautious. Like, always check anything that's been machined to be a little bit more than nature. Tea bags are supposed to be paper, right? Well, in order to prevent the paper from ripping, the manufacturers of the tea bags spray it with a small amount of plastic to have it hang together better. And that's the plastic that comes off. But what about the lemon and ginger in this lemon ginger tea that sounds so appealing and calming, right? And something that most people would find nice as an herbal tea. Well, listen, you're relying on a factory to actually put that lemon flavor, ginger flavor. Is it real lemon or is it real ginger? Always look at the ingredient label to know what's in there. Or just buy your own tea and squeeze your own lemon and add your own piece of ginger. These are ways to actually kind of avoid the potential exposures to toxins that come from ultra-processed food. So all this conversation about, avoid ultra-processed foods and watch out for all those harmful things, it's actually quite easy to dodge them if you just have in your mindset that you're just going to make it yourself, and it's absolutely easy. Now, I will tell you something interesting about English breakfast tea. We did research at the Angiogenesis Foundation, the nonprofit I looked at, to look at different types of teas, different types of green tea, Japanese tea, Chinese jasmine tea, English tea. And we were always assuming, again, this is the power of food as medicine research, we were always assuming that the green tea is going to be the best. I'd always heard that Japanese green tea is going to be like the ultra best. And what we found was that English tea, specifically Earl Grey tea, actually was the most potent when it actually supported your blood vessels, your body's defense system for angiogenesis to keep your circulation healthy. Wow, what a surprise that is. And this spoke to me about the fact that we can't make assumptions. We need to look at facts. We need to look at data. And so I'm a big fan of Earl Grey now. Now, what might make Earl Grey, give Earl Grey its superpower? Well, this is where knowing a little bit about what you're eating is actually useful, because Earl Grey is a fermented, it's a black tea. It's got bergamot in it, and bergamot is a kind of a citrus. So maybe it's combining those ingredients that actually provides the superpower. But I do see matcha on this tray. I want to tell you about matcha, because matcha is truly a super enriched, polyphenol enriched tea. A lot of people don't realize it. There's no tea bag in it, so don't worry. Yeah. So a lot of people think about matcha as just another green tea, but it's not another green tea. It is made with green tea leaves, the same kind of green tea leaves, but as you would find in any green tea. However, what's the composition of matcha? Matcha is green tea that is, before it's ready for harvest, is grown under a shade that changes its chemical structure, natural chemical structure a little bit. So it's got a lot of potency to it. And what happens with matcha is they take the tea leaf, they take out the stem of the green tea leaf, and they ground up the actual leaf into a powder. Now, what's in that green tea leaf? You've got not just some of the polyphenols that might steep out in the cup, whether you're using a tea bag or loose leaf tea, you're getting all the polyphenols suspended in that. So now you get 100% polyphenol, okay, in matcha. So go ahead, do it. Okay, that one's good. All right, okay, for matcha. And because you're getting the tea leaf ground to it, you're also getting your dietary fiber. The dietary fiber is good for your gut health, your microbiome, good for your metabolism, good for lowering inflammation. And the polyphenols found in green tea have also been, matcha tea, have also been found in the lab to kill breast cancer stem cells. What's a breast cancer stem cell? What's a cancer stem cell? Well, look, stem cells are these renewable cells, all right? And cancers contain stem cells that help the cancers come back, right? If you get cancer, you get it treated. The one thing you don't want it to do is to come back. So, and by the way, other foods can also kill cancer stem cells. Purple potatoes that you might have seen in the market, they're kind of purpley looking on the outside. Slice it open, dark purple on the inside. All right. Turns out that those purple potatoes have something called anthocyanins. Purple potatoes have been studied in a lab, okay, at Penn State University and been shown to kill colon cancer stem cells, which contribute to the colon cancer coming back.
So full disclaimer, I made a very, very big investment, a 7-figure investment into a matcha company a couple of years ago. And if you look at the search trend data on the subject of matcha, I don't know if you've seen this, but I'll throw it up on the screen for anyone that's watching on video, but you can see how it's just come out of nowhere. It seems it's exploded. And when you say that matcha cells have an impact on breast cancer cells, what does that mean in reality? Does it, because obviously the conclusion one might jump to is that if you drink matcha, you're lowering your risk of breast cancer. But that's not necessarily what you're saying.
What I am saying is that drinking green tea in its most healthful form, okay, raises your body's health defense systems.
Yeah.
And by having better health defense systems, better immunity, better control over your blood vessels, better control over your DNA and those mutations, and if you can actually kill some of those stem cells, cancer stem cells, that's going to be in your favor as well. That is overall going to actually lower your risk of cancer. And so I think that, and by the way, the other thing that green tea and matcha can actually do is improve your metabolism. It's really pretty much all good. My great uncle, by the way, lived to 104 years old, vital, intact, independent. He told me that he attributed his longevity and his vitality to the fact that he lived at the base of a mountain that grew tea, that every morning he got up and he walked up stone steps, a stone path to a tea garden, and he had freshly picked tea. It's all organically grown and everything. And he drank tea all day long. He probably had 10 cups of green tea a day, and this has been his whole life. He sat with his close friends who are also very vibrant and elderly, social connection, all right? Watch the sunrise, it's very calming.
Every day we're exposed to invisible threats, from the microplastics in our food to the silent inflammation in our bodies. But knowledge is power, and with the right choices, we can take back control of our health. If this video opened your eyes, don't let it be the last. Hit that like button, leave a comment with your thoughts, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe now and turn on notifications, because every week we uncover the hidden truths that could change your life. This is The Growth Cut, where awareness becomes action.